We are moving on to our next session, which is on gaming and emerging medium for marketers. And we have with us Alakshit Tripathi, Industry Head Consumer Packaged Goods InMobi, Gazal Bajaj Head Media and Management Nestle, Joydeep Basuroy, Assistant General Manager Pernod Ricard, Kapil Ohri, Head Digital Marketing Dabur India Limited, and the session will be moderated by Vinit Karnik, Head Sports, Esports and Entertainment GroupM South Asia. Over to you all.
Hello everyone, welcome to Gamexx 2021, a fabulous initiative by Adgully. And I think the subject is absolutely apt for the timing that we are in. And we have an extremely eminent set of panelists today, a fabulous set of three brand marketeers, powered with my colleague from InMobi, who will bring a lot of insights from a network perspective, from a DSP perspective. So looking forward for a fun and interactive session on a extremely fabulous and most sought after subject, especially in the last 15 months or so. So let me just give a quick context to the reason why we all believe that it's a very exciting times and the subject is absolutely relevant and to importance to all of us because of the sheer market size. Okay, I mean, pre-pandemic itself, the gaming and the esports industry was buzzing with a lot of chatter around across the world, and somewhere India was just warming up to embracing gaming culture. What pandemic has done is it has only fast-tracked the entire movement of sorts. And today we are seeing people within our households, within our friends and family, who are playing games actively, whether they are casual gaming, serious gaming, someone or the other within our near and dear ones are playing on a mobile phone on a daily basis. So on that note, I want to just quickly start this with putting things into perspective from a numbers point of view. Just to give a heads up, India is predominantly a mobile first market. Globally, that's however not the case. Globally, the entire gaming industry is divided into three parts: mobile, PC and console. The overall gaming size globally is about $150 billion, which is massive in terms of number. Of that 150 billion, mobile people, 46% of people worldwide play on mobile phones, 24% people play on PCs, and about 30% play on console. So that's the pretty much a breakup from a global gaming industry landscape. While I said that India is a mobile first market, I will come to the numbers of India a bit in a bit. Now, while these are gaming numbers, let's look at the global esport industry. The global esport industry is $950 million. Okay, so if the gaming industry is 149 billion or 150 billion, the esports industry is about 1,000 million kind of a number. Okay, now which means that globally, console and PC based gaming, subscription based gaming is very relevant. Okay, so that's the difference that you will very clearly see once we get into this session in terms of the difference between the worldwide trend and the India trend. Now coming to India. In India, the Indian gaming industry is approximately pegged at around $750 million, of which only 10 million is a esport industry. Now that's not surprising, and it's not a worrisome number because esport obviously is small because we've been going through a pandemic for the last year and a half. Esports, we all know the scale comes only when the physical world starts and large format esport events start happening. Yeah. The good news to us is that a lot of virtual esports leagues have already been mushrooming in India, and no sooner we come out of the pandemic and the lockdown eases a bit for us, and when the physical world starts, I think esports in India is going to be invincible and difficult to avoid for the kind of traction that we have seen over the last 15 odd months. To give you a sense in terms of how these numbers have been growing, India has been growing at a pace of 14x in the online gaming community since 2010. So that's the trend. It is not only pandemic which has helped it growing. In India, the chatters were already happening. It's just that people like us have started accepting the size and scale of this only now. But the growth has been there over the last 1 decade or so. I made a very a strong point in terms of India being a mobile first market. Let me give you a quick heads up in terms of what does that mean in terms of numbers. So when I say mobile first, so from a numbers point of view, 250 million mobile gamers are actively playing on their mobile phones. 123% of prize money increase is that what we have observed from 2016 onwards till now. Now the reason why prize money is important is if gaming has to be an industry and if more and more people on a sustained basis have to play games or digitally, the prize money has to be significant for them to look at it as a career. So 123% is an interesting growth and a consistent growth that we have seen over the years. Average number of mobile gamers on most Indian phones. Most Indian phones have got about 3 games on an average is what we have observed over time. 22 hours is a time spent per week by an individual playing games on a mobile phone. 35.8 million is what fundraising has happened in the startup economy in the last 5 years. Now, 35.8 million startup funding is not a small amount. The moment you have private equity startups investing into a industry, you know that we are here for a big haul. We are here for a very sustained scale up towards this business model. And last but not the least, 80% of Indians play a mobile game on a phone daily. Now that's a large number within the mobile phone ecosystem. Now a quick heads up in terms of how has COVID-19 helped accelerating this entire sector. We have seen 11% increase in esport users per week, 21% increase in time spent by each user on esport. Now these are post-pandemic numbers, right? 61% increase in esports live streaming viewership in week 1 of lockdown, and we will look at some of the InMobi numbers after my opening address, and that will obviously help us lead up more in this. 45% of Indian gamers started playing mobile games during lockdown, and 50,000 spike in daily active users in GamerG as one of the platforms for esports during the lockdown. Now these are fantastic numbers, quite large by any standards. And on that context, I would want to bring in Alakshit from InMobi to just add to what I have just said in terms of Alakshit, how do you make sense of these numbers? These are obviously extremely large numbers. And while we have our 3 panelists from a brand marketing standpoint, how are you looking at these numbers and how are you helping the right holder ecosystem, the streaming ecosystem, and the advertiser ecosystem to unlock its true value and make sense of these numbers from a sheer business standpoint? All yours, Alakshit.
Thanks, Vinit. You have already put a lot of numbers in perspective, so I might refrain from talking too much about the numbers. But e-gaming has been a category which was a desired category, right? You will remember it from your childhood days that people wanted to go to the parlors to play on console, etc. Now, mobile suddenly eased the entire system out, right? Like everyone could get access to it. Now, a 13-year-old also has an access to it. A 60-year-old also has an access to it. Women have it. It's gender neutral in sense. It's age neutral in that sense. It's metro, non-metro neutral in that sense. But the growth during the pandemic was significantly high. We were seeing like 1.5x, 2x jump at the start of the lockdown itself. And it was assumed that as soon as the world opens up in the physical form, these numbers will decline. But gaming is quite sticky, right? Those numbers did not decline as much. People continued playing those games because they were hooked up to those. And you would see these categories as well, right? There are casual gaming, there's adventure kind of a gaming. There are gamings which happen with real money, etc. And imagine this, right? We have a clause right now, which all the gaming companies with the real money gaming, etc., put forward to the user that it can be addictive. People are spending so much amount of time that you have to call it out. That itself is a quite a testimony as to what is the time being spent on these games, etc. And to bring in the marketeers also into this discussion, right? Earlier, what we used to see in discussions with marketeers, these numbers were there, but the mindset wasn't there to spend on these, or uh, to believe that this is a platform which actually works, wherein I can put in ads, where the user's mind frame is there, right? A lot of times we thought that the gamers are there with other people who have a lot of free time at hand, right? So it's going to be kids, it's going to be people in non-metro areas, and the 2021 report that we have, right? 80% of the gamers are coming from the metro areas, right? So that's a significant number. Now you want to talk to the guys in the metro because that's where your products are majorly. That's where your strongest distribution networks are. So the entire mindset changed with the pandemic era, and honestly, that change also came in with the idea that people were refraining to advertise on news, right? So you have plugged out the money from somewhere where there is a lot of negativity with COVID, etc. There's a lot of tension. So you have to plug that money in somewhere. Now that vacuum was filled suddenly by gaming, right? And that's how you see the transition also. So news declined with time, right? There was a significant uptick in the news numbers as well, but that declined, and all that got soaked up by gaming in particular. And these numbers are but more obvious that we are seeing.
So Alakshit, that's fantastic. So that I will bring in all you guys now. So here is my observation. Okay, so whatever I have observed in the last 15 months and predominantly over the last 3 to 4 years also has been that gaming has we always knew somewhere deep down that a lot of people are engaged. That acceptance took some time. Okay, and now I assume that we have crossed that barrier of acceptance, and now we all know that this is here to stay. Now, from a marketing perspective, I want to bring in Kapil, followed by Joy, and then Gazal in terms of how are you guys looking at this sector? Because the observation, at least from my lens, is that a lot of FMCG clients, a lot of non-endemic brands are still on the fence. You may have tried a bit here and there, but still on the fence, not fully convinced. So what is it that you guys are thinking? So Kapil, you to start with.
Yeah. So I think the biggest sort of a challenge for the gaming, from a marketer's point of view, in terms of adoption, see there's a problem of plenty that we see in digital, like beyond the usual, the YouTube and the social media, Facebook, Instagram, right? Then you have so many platforms that where your target audience is available. And if we look at the pandemic numbers, every platform is growing, be it OTT, be it the big ones, like as we say, giants are anyway growing. Gaming also, I mean, the numbers that we see, that there's a 14-15% jump in gaming. So, but where do we have to choose? Because monies are always limited, no matter how much you're big spender or not. But you have to ultimately choose, and when it comes to choosing a platform, definitely the top funnel takes perspective in case of FMCG, and then whatever monies are left for the mid funnel and the lower funnels, where the gaming, I think, can play a bigger role. And once you touch all, when you want to, let's say, talk about the brand to and take the consumers to a next level in the journey, that's where I think gaming fits well. But I see there are challenges from where you pull out the money is also the challenge. For example, if we talk in our case, news make a lot of sense because COVID, people are reading about immunity, and I think all leading publications are covering health, immunity. So we want to be part of that journey, of the consumer journey at that point of time. So as Alakshit said, that people are pulling out monies from news. and gaming offered a good sort of a avenue to choose as a medium. But I'm not very sure that that's the case with at least all FMCG or any other sort of brands. But yes, news still stayed relevant. Now, coming back to the gaming, I think it serves well if we take it as a mid-funnel sort of play in the consumer's journey, because then you can talk about, for example, in our case, we want to talk about the ingredients. For example, Chyawanprash. People don't know much about the ingredients of a Dabur Chyawanprash. Then how do we tell people? Maybe a game around ingredients and all. People will, while playing, they'll get to know about the ingredients, which will build more conviction about the scientific nature of that product. So I think that's where I see the gaming will play a critical role from mid-funnel perspective. Yeah.
Gazal, I want to bring you here now, considering Kapil spoke about an FMCG category. You have got various different categories at Nestle, and the objectives obviously will be different for a different category. How have you looked at it over time, and any opening thoughts that you have on this subject?
So, Vinit, I think I kind of agree with what Kapil says. It's not a very obvious movement from news to gaming. However, there are a particular set of brands for which this might be more relevant than other set of brands. When we're talking about chocolates as a category, when we're talking about impulse categories where it's just about keeping reminders to your TG on a regular basis, that's where I feel gaming comes in more handy. For products where you need a lot of education going in, somewhere the environment is still casual, and hence you don't see every single category kind of moving in there. It's definitely something that adds more frequency to what we're doing. It doesn't become mainline. At the same time, I feel it's a big driver when it comes to youth. It's the right space to be in. Also, the kind of inventory that's available on gaming kind of alludes to that only, that, you know, when a person is enjoying a favorite game, he doesn't want a deterrent between the next level. So the crisper your communication can be, the more casual, funny, interesting your communication can be, is the environment that it offers you. And hence, for me, I feel youth brands is where this plays a larger role, and can really be leveraged well in that aspect for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt, absolutely well said, Gazal. Joy, I want to bring you here because I would want to believe, and most of the people within the industry would want to believe, considering the category that you guys are in, it's a win-win for you guys to engage with the consumers. Because gaming, to a large extent, before it becomes serious, it's also about casually being engaged there, because not all gamers, not all everything around gaming is serious, right? It's also very casual. So how have you responded? Any plans, any thoughts of embracing this as one of the categories which is going to be seeing a regular feature in your media plans?
Vinit, one thing, let's understand and look from the very consumer perspective. One of the motivations what gaming addresses, it gives an experience. And secondly, 2 or 3 motivations which adds up and why the gaming is becoming more and more popular. Because first is that it's a route of escapism. So the consumer moves from the real world into the imagined world and he plays with that. Second is also, this is another way of socialism. So another 3 is isolating, but he is playing also with his relatives, with his friends, another ways of looking at. Third is also, it's a mean of enjoyment. Enjoyment is always a function of story, graphics, and how it's been told. So that's what it is. And also, when some levels, he crosses the levels, there is a sense of achievement is also there. See, and I am from an industry where direct advertisement is not possible. So there, we talk about the extrinsic side and also the intrinsic side. And experience becomes also an important. That's why that slowly, and what we have also seen, say, I agree to Kapil that yes, you don't have an abundant fund, but what we are seeing is that See, any media plan we do is simple. It's a highest common factor. How you reach and the basic things for a mass brand, it is an RNF which we always look. And we always use the highest common factors. And obviously, with the pandemic, what has happened that the digital part, the other OTT and all parts had opened up. But where your consumers' lives. And one thing which we are observing is that there is a set of the people who only engages with the game, who and that's the part also need to be addressed. And slowly and steadily, because what we are doing is a part of each of the plan, we are making the brand visible in the currently we have taken a baby step, but yes, there may be things when the games, the brands can be an integral part of the games also. But yes, now the currently in terms of the video format, it's getting present in the games.
Sure. So, Alakshit, I want to bring in here. So, I want to bucket the three comments into a couple of areas, and the very clear trend coming out from what Kapil, Gazal, and Joy said, right? So, one is they are any which ways. It's a fragmented market, any which ways. The entire digital ecosystem is quite fragmented. Obviously, their priority in terms of the top priority is in terms of audience and the consumer engagement, right? And in a fragmented ecosystem like them, how do you carve out a niche for gaming in particular? Because the gaming industry obviously believes that it is very, very niche. A lot of youth is around the sector, and therefore they want top dollars to come into that fold through programmatically the way various different plans would pan out, right? Now, the challenge is for people like you and us actually to possibly then advise the clients appropriately in terms of how do you unlock that value for a particular sector. So any thoughts? Have you heard this before from the marketeers? How have you encountered this challenge? Any thought starters on that one? Because these are very, very relevant points made by all three of them.
Right. So, the three problems, right? So you need to reach the right audience at the right time with the right communication. Those are the three things that we are looking at. Now, right communication also comes with the context, right? What game are we playing? What user is doing? And what is my user? So let's address the time first, right? The time is already sorted. You have abundant amount of instances in a day where you see that user coming on the platform, right? So you can decide on what, if you need to have a day parting, if you need to show an ad when the user crosses a level, if the user wins a game or loses a game, all that can be done, right? So if you want to have a association with happiness, and that's what something we do, right? So at times with the brand communication, we'll try to put it when someone clears a level, right? So that there is positive reinforcement with the brand. And then when someone loses a game, that there is a better chance for them to probably switch to a different game, right? So that's when the other apps and aspects come in. So the communication can be modified in that sense. But the major problem comes in, what is the audience that I'm reaching out to? Who are these people, right? So gaming becomes the source of showing your ad, but then there are underlying layers of the psyche of the person that you are targeting or the user that you are targeting, and that can be understood, right? So if you want to target, say, mothers, you can find out what are the games. So they are majorly present on casual games, for example, right? So Candy Crush or the likes of it, or the bubble shooter, are quite popular in mothers. Now we can look at that as a segment, or we can carve out a segment out of all the Candy Crush users itself to be to say that these are the mothers and we'll target only these, right? So it's not just about looking at the gaming as the targeting all the gamers. It's about and I saw that apprehension also, and then Joy also had a perspective, right, on that yeah, if people are looking for that escape mechanism, so it is the same user base that you have. It's just they are on a different place, in a different mindset, and we can probably utilize those users as well.
Okay, interesting. So one more aspect which I think also is an interesting view to have from the marketeers is around the game itself. Okay. So if you look at the popular genres within the Indian ecosystem, the most popular genre is shooting. Okay. Now, from a culture point of view, okay, someone shooting someone constantly, someone going, so culturally, do you see that as a barrier, or do you guys are okay with that? I mean, it's a question to all three of you guys, and just be brutally honest, because I somewhere think in India, culturally, we sober down a bit, right? We don't want anyone actively to shoot someone constantly. So, Kapil, starting from you, how do you see it? I mean, do you see the most popular genre in India, which is shooting, being a barrier or a challenge, or do you think it's fine?
No, I don't see it as a challenge, honestly. If it's a, I mean, we usually in media have a concept of a prime time. Now, in this gaming space, if this is the most consumed genre, then I think this genre is more of a prime time. If you look at from that perspective, then as an advertiser, I need to see how do I leverage that. Because anyways, the consumer is already there. How do I ensure that what sort of a creative do I run which will match and become more organic to that context? So that can be one. It could be as simple as you're shooting an apple and you get a juice from that, right? So I mean, it depends how you build on the top of the context that we have. So not a challenge at all, but we should figure out how do we leverage that as a advantage from a creative perspective. Yeah. I think another perspective I want to touch what Alakshit said is the right context. Now I think now there's a sort of a challenge the industry is facing, and all of us are part of that. Uh, I'm chasing audience because anyways we want to go programmatic because I want a unified reach. So anyways we are chasing audience. Now when they are on gaming, I honestly we have started ignoring the context. 10 years before, in 2010, we were all focusing on the context. That's how all the GDNs of the world evolved. That my ad should be at that point, it should be there when the consumer is reading or consuming content linked to the category I belong to. But now with programmatic, I think that's been changed. If I want to chase a gamer, I'll chase it on a YouTube. If I want to chase a gamer, I might chase it on a game itself. So there are different options available to me right now. So then in that case, I think my question to all of us together is that then where does the gaming fit in? From if I ignore the context, then what is the relevance of gaming in from a brand's point of view?
So we'll come to it. So that's a very, very interesting pivot, Kapil, and you have hit it. So that was something which I would have come next. But let's first address the concern or possibly or the point of view on the gaming genre itself. So Joy, any point of view on shooting? I mean, any take?
See, obviously, I'm coming from an industry where there is a lot of restrictions are there, and you have to follow. So we struggled because last year was the first time when we used gaming in any of the media plan. So the first thing we struggled is that who are the publishers who can give us that the games are being consumed by 25, so 25 and above, because we cannot advertise at where we know that is being consumed by lower than legal drinking age. So that's the restrictions, and that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge we face. And yes, we got some responses from some publishers, and then we structured a media plan so that at least we minimize that. Yes, knowing that, for example, my phone has been used by my daughter, so it's been targeted to me. It's been consumed by my daughter. So that's the biggest challenge actually we faced of integrating the gaming into the plan. Now, coming to the core questions, that the shooting is, yes, that's a no-no for us, because any association with the brand and the shooting, it will only create a problem. That's why we have gone very safe. We have gone into the genres where it's safer. So we used things like Ludo King, things like Real Cricket. So that's a safer zone we have gone, so that we don't at least build that associations with the brand and the genre where you are operating.
So interesting, Joy. Knowing very well that bulk of your audience, bulk of the youth is in the shooting genre. So that's a very interesting call you guys took from a brand guideline point of view, maybe, and stuff like that. Gazal, where are you guys in this space? I mean, I'm sure, I mean, with such a ethical standards that you guys also follow, are you okay with advertising or sponsoring a gaming tournament which is around shooting?
No, Vinit, I would say we are extremists in that case. So, level one is where you want to be where your consumer is, and that's the prime responsibility of any media plan. Level two is you want to be where your consumer is, but with a relevant context, and hence casual gaming has a sync with most of our impulse categories, good fitment. But level three is you want to be with your user, you want to be there in context, but you want to be in a brand safe environment. For us, we look at it in a slightly extreme manner where we say if the game has any violence whatsoever, even if it is a bit of violence, not going to the extreme of shooting, we make sure that it is not included in our plans. When PUBG was raging amongst youth, the marketer inside us was dying to be there, but we couldn't be there because it wasn't a genre that we wanted to put our products out on. So we've completely stayed away from it.
Super. So that's a very, very valid point everybody has made, and this is more for the viewers of this show. That's a very valid point we need to keep in mind, because in an outside world, okay, while we must be seeing a lot of numbers around this, from a marketeer standpoint, what matters is the brand guideline, the entire environment, and that's the commitment in which the advertiser thinks of. And that's a very, very interesting, all of you guys brought in. Thank you very much for that. Alakshit, I want to bring you out here and just to extend Kapil's point, okay? So it's a question, right? So for example, and I want to draw some parallel here from the live sport ecosystem, okay? See, today, while we have been predominantly a cricket playing country, the fan story, the fan engagement on cricket happened organically. But see what happened after 2008, slowly, steadily emerging sports came in. We have got 10 plus sporting leagues now in India doing extremely well in their own ways. A lot of fans, a lot of following, a lot of people wanting to buy tickets, going to the stadium. You already see the reach numbers on TV and the digital platforms. You see the kind of interest people have in social. Today, I think somewhere we are talking about a live sport business where advertisers might ask you for a cricket fan based plan, or a fan who's a sports fan. Let me put it that way. Okay. Do you see advertisers calling out for a gamer plan, a plan which targets gamers? Because I am pretty confident, guys, that a year from now or 2 years from now, this community is only going to grow. Okay. So do you see advertisers asking for a gamer specific plan, or a plan which targets the gaming community per se? It could be casual, it could be serious, doesn't really matter. What are your thoughts? Because Kapil made a very valid point. This is coming our way very, very soon, guys.
Right. So, in certain instances, I mean, without naming names, there are a handful of brands which ask for gaming in particular, right? Give me access to gamers. For example, if someone has a association with music and gaming, so they will look for that kind of an audience. Typically, it comes with layers that, okay, this plus this, right? It is generally not the case that we are looking for gamers and gamers standalone. That's typically what we are seeing. Other than that, there is a cross pollination of sorts where we are looking at gamification, right, as an ad unit, where the context of the ad itself is very much of a game, like Kapil was saying, right? That if you can make someone shoot an apple and get a juice out of it, right? Why not associate with it? Now, for example, now bubble shooter, right? So what happens is, like Kapil also mentioned, right? There are just problems of plenty. You have so many games out there. How do you figure out? So you just probably put a filter, remove everything which has the word shoot in it, right? Now, bubble shooter also got removed with it. But if you could get that user who is on bubble shooter and you have a gamified unit which is designed like bubble shooter, now you want to reach out to people with that ad, right? Now it doesn't matter which inventory you are serving it on, be it OTT, be it news, be it any platform. But now you have a gamified unit, which you predominantly want to take it to gamers, because they will be, there is no learning curve to these gamified ad units, but still, if there is any, these guys will be most easily adjusting to it and would be winning the rewards, etc., or any gratification that you might want to give. So in that case in particular, definitely any brand will come. Otherwise, you will have like handful of brands which come ask specifically for gaming.
Okay, that's great. So one interesting thing which is coming to us and a very, very big development for the gaming ecosystem is that in 2020, Asian Games is going to be having gaming as one of the prime competing categories, right? Now that's the outside world. I mean, I'm not saying the brand world, the world who's into the gaming industry, who's coming and selling you stuff, various different products and offerings, are very excited and gung-ho about this one. Okay. Now, obviously, we know, being a part of the agency ecosystem, that unless the advertisers warm up to and supports the gaming sector effectively, the challenges are going to be only coming piling up quite a lot, right? So the pivot of Asian Games 2022 calling out gaming as one of the important aspects of competition. Do you think that's a pivotal point for this industry to scale up? Any thoughts from you three guys? Kapil?
No, I think what we are seeing, and just taking a step back, if we see the interest in the Olympics right now, and we have been seeing the articles around that people are actually moving beyond cricket. If we see now, I think gaming is an option that's an extension of that. If I see that as an interest in Olympics is also. If we have a gaming as a part of the Asian Games, I think this will definitely bring in a lot of bring gaming to the podium, which it actually requires. See, all of us are gamers in one way or the other. Maybe few started with Mario or let's say Contra sort of a games, moved to Snakes on the Nokia phones, and now we are still. I think everybody is a gamer, so it's not that there's a particular community which is definitely a hardcore gaming community, but everybody is a casual gamer, so to say. And the moment if the gaming gets that sort of a podium, I think it will definitely bring a lot of relevance to the industry. I think the only challenge now the gaming needs to solve is a scale it can offer. Though, I mean, we're talking about 250 million gamers in India. The numbers are still debatable. Some study says there are 400 million plus, some say 250 million. But I think the moment it brings scale, the more scale, I think people will start jumping into it. And the moment it connects all the parts of the funnel. So I was, while you were telling, I was thinking that if e-commerce players can look into it and I can buy stuff while I'm into a game, then it's a pretty fantastic. I mean, it's a full funnel itself. You're playing game, you win points, you use those points within the game, buy, let's say, anything within the game itself, and you move out. So much of incentivization. I think that if that can happen, that will be good. But to answer you, I think slowly, I think the gaming is getting its due, and as the numbers are growing, so Asian Games will just be another benchmark it can get. Yeah.
So Gazal, let me ask you a pointed question on Asian Games, okay? Assume, and I'm just saying assume, I'm not saying it's going to happen the way I'm going to saying it, but assume that there is a 4-member India team who's going to be participating as Team India in the Asian Games 22, okay? Would you sponsor those young guys?
Okay, I hope you're not taking this back anyway, but yes.
Sorry. So before you answer, let me. The spirit of my question is not actually the meaning by whether you will sponsor them or no.
Absolutely.
The spirit of the question is around: would you take them seriously? Okay, forget about would you sponsor them. Would you take them seriously and would you support them?
I think yes, Vinit. Like Kapil mentioned, Olympics gaining traction more than previous years is a sign of how gaming is becoming more important. But at the same time, with all of us sitting at home, kids especially sitting at home, youngsters sitting at home, phygital is becoming a reality. And with that, cricket continues to be the heartthrob for the nation, but formats like these will gain more and more traction. With that background, I feel it will be a very interesting play to partner with some of these new age gamers who are only into the phygital area of gaming is a very interesting proposition. I do feel that in terms of opportunities on gaming, no, if we continue to keep saying that there are more and more numbers, there are so many people who are playing, and hence gaming is big, it becomes one of the 20 channels that you buy. And digital is not that medium where you want to have a tick mark on all sort of genres. So the more and more it's about saying as many number of people here, then you're basically saying you get them on YouTube, you also get them on Facebook, you also get them on gaming. There is no differentiation whatsoever. If gaming needs to scale up, it needs to bring in that understanding which is deeper beyond these categories, and it may not be in the extreme zone of, oh, this is a gamer and hence I want to reach out to them, because that's a very small community. But there has to be a differentiator within gaming to for advertisers to latch on to it more than just using it as another genre.
Okay. No, no, absolutely well said. Interesting. Joy, to you, see, for the category that you have, obviously you have a lot of restrictions, okay? How do you look at this thing from a content standpoint, okay? Because gamers also, while they play, they also, come up with a lot of short format, small, nice, quirky content pieces. You obviously have a large content play in terms of short films and so on and so forth. Would you look at some of these guys, bunch of these young millennials who are absolutely on their own, doing their own thing, which has been followed by a significant amount of people within the country and the community? How would you want to engage with them? I mean, how would you want to embrace them, which will eventually add value to your entire marketing program?
Vinit, already we have started doing certain, I've told that we have started taking that baby steps. We are, yes, exactly, being a restrictive category and also being a very responsible organizations, we are very particular that how the things need to be communicated or things to be reached to the consumers. Yes, we started one thing where we have started using some of the gamers also as an influencers. So as an influencers, so disseminating the message to the consumers, because I told you that there may be a set of the consumers whom we cannot able to reach through all the traditional mediums. We are trying that with the game. Yes, Gazal has made a point that how separate it is from an YouTube, how separate it is from the other mediums. But still, and it's our all hypothesis. Currently, we don't have, anybody has any figure to substantiate that. So, the steps what we have taken, we have seen that the click-through rates are much higher. But the only reason is that because when the ads are being served, it's been served because you are getting certain points or going to the next level. So obviously you go through the ad. That's maybe the reason of the CT, there's a higher CTR for the in that zone. Saying so, it will evolve, and always a media plan always is a factor of highest common factor. And when that bubble becomes bigger, you have to use these people who are associated with these genres. And your first question, so that how Asian Games will help, I think Asian Games will just add an impetus, because it's just an add-on to this. the bigger step has been taken during what has happened during the lockdown, when the entire consumptions has increased. Asian Games will just add fuel to the entire thing.
Fantastic. Uh, just parting remarks from you, Alakshit, in terms of how do you bring all these things together? Because the challenge pretty much is there for the industry, mainly people like you and us and the entire gaming ecosystem, to possibly stitch a lot of these questions to, because the marketeers are raising absolute valid points in terms of the way they look at audience engagement and stuff like that. So what could be a solution? Is stitching a solution around streaming platform is one way to look at it. Solutions around influencers in the gaming ecosystem is another part of it. Content, as Joy said, that he's already started looking at it very, very seriously. How do you bring this together? Any thoughts, any experiences in the last 3, 4, or 6 months that you can share with us, Alakshit?
Sure. So gaming, we also started going big after the lockdown, right? And we started talking to everyone about gaming, how the gamer user base is growing, etc., etc. But then we realized, right, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So while we are talking just about the gaming, for example, a Gazal, a Kapil, Joy will talk about their brand, right? So yeah, while my gamer user base is growing, while all the other things are looking nice and rosy, we need to find some sort of a spot where there is a resonance with the brand, how they can exactly associate with them. And gaming is new, right? So the industry is also figuring out how to work with the marketeers better, how to monetize their space better. So there are custom integrations that are coming up. There are rewarded slots that are coming up, or some people have a hesitancy towards rewarded video slots, or non-rewarded looks better to them. Then what kind of what calling it brand safe, right? So when there is a game break, that's when you put the ad. You don't put the ads everywhere else, because those associations that every brand manager talks about, right? That has to be understood by the gaming industry also better, and we are getting there. We are gradually and slowly moving, and I think in the last 1 year itself we have made a significant amount of progress with and that you can see with the brands money also pouring into gaming, right? It's not just the numbers of growth numbers that is exactly bringing them in. I think there is only positive that we will see going forward with the numbers growing and working with brands better. It
So
should be
that's absolutely fabulous, Alakshit. And just to summarize and bring things into perspective for the audience, I would categorize it from a need of an hour in terms of one needs to one to create products out of what's happening. It's all over the place right now. Gaming needs to get productized in terms of couple of segments, in terms of how the advertisers can embrace it. Second point that come across is we need to somewhere the whole product proposition has to get the answer to the fragmentation story. Okay, how do we defragmentize the gaming as a community, and is there a merit in looking at them separately? Third point that came very interestingly from all the marketeers is around how are we going to be being responsible to the whole thing? How are we going to be more cautious about building a brand on the back of something which is as quirky as shooting? So that's a no-no for most of them. So therefore, responsible advertising and responsible engagement with the consumer is going to be of criticality. So therefore, a lot of work needs to be done at the back end from the gaming industry as such. The positive to me though is everyone recognizes the numbers and the scale at which it's currently growing. With a lot of respect, everybody is observing that space very closely. Everybody is a keen learner to the whole thing, and therefore it's here to stay. The scalability will happen as soon as we have some of these trick answers, and we are getting there, as everyone says. Thank you very much for spending your valuable time for this for the Gamexx 2021. Really appreciate your time and the comments and the point of views you made. Thanks a lot once again for being here, and have a good one. Stay safe. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, Gazal.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the panelists for that very insightful session.